Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Rahil Jumar Jawali. I am a student of Rehan School, Korangi Campus, and I'm from Karachi, Pakistan. Today we have the privilege of hosting a remarkable individual whose life work has touched the heart of many. He is Dr. Mark, a hospice chaplain with over 30 years of experience in grief ministry. Dr. Hartley has extended his compassionate service across various regions from Arkansas to Hong Kong, guiding countless individuals through their moments of grief. Not only is he a spiritual guide, but also an Amazon bestseller #1 co-author of Think Big. So let's give a warm welcome to our esteemed guest, Dr. Mark Hartley, and delve into his inspiring life journey. So, how are you, sir?
Doing very well, thank you. And yourself?
It's, I'm also doing well. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me your precious time.
My privilege.
All right. So now let's move on to our interview. First of all, please introduce yourself for my viewers.
I'm Mark Hartley. I live currently in Nebraska, and you shared a little bit about who I am. I deal with individuals who are terminally ill. I go and see them on a regular basis and just trying to help them on their final journey before they leave this earth.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful introduction. So now let's move on to questions. My first question is on your screen. Can you share a memorable experience from your time as a hospice chaplain?
Well, I have numbers of experiences. Probably some of the most memorable are those times whenever the family has called for me to come and to be with the individual and share some spiritual things with them, and then many times as saying a prayer with them, taking their last breath as you are praying with them and in that time together.
All right, great. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So my second question is, what inspired you to specialize in grief ministry of your doctorate?
Well, I was doing the or ministering to people at the end of their lives, and just so often hearing different stories of people grieving. Oftentimes we think of grief just as when someone dies, but grief is so much bigger than that. It's a loss of any relationship that a person may have. Whenever somebody's pet that they were close with dies, that causes them grief, or they've lived in the same location for a long time, and then they move to another location, and the grief that they have from leaving those friends, and also just different areas of grief that do not deal with death. And so just coming across numbers of individuals that were grieving, and just saying that I don't have anybody to help me walk through this journey. And so I specialized in how do you come along beside of an individual who's grieving, and the specialty of teaching others to do that.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful answer. So my next question is, how does your background in education influence your approach to grief ministry?
Well, just being able to then take and systematically put together a plan to help others and to teach others. my In the workshop, what I did is, in my doctorate degree, I developed a workshop to train other people to help their friends and their neighbors whenever they're dealing with grief. And it's easier for a friend or a neighbor to come along beside of you and help you in your grief than to go and get a stranger, which was what sometimes a lot of people were doing, was getting strangers. And so if you see your friend at school, uh, struggling with some type of a grief that that they've lost, a friend that's moved or a pet that's died or some other aspect of grief, then you are then able to come along beside of them instead of having to go get somebody else that they may not know. And so that's what I did. I developed that workshop, and my education degree helped me put together that workshop. It's 6 sessions is what it is in the workshop.
All right, sir. Great. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So my next question is, what challenges have you faced working in diverse location like Arkansas, Maine, Hong Kong, and Nebraska?
The challenges are, they're the biggest difference, I guess, as far as Arkansas, which is where I grew up, and Maine, and here in Nebraska, which is where I am currently. They're all farming communities, and so the understanding of the culture for those areas was pretty much the same. Um, different regions have different cultures, just like there in where you live. Different regions of Pakistan has different type of little cultural issues and things of that nature. Hong Kong was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed being there, and it was certainly not a farming community, but yet at the same time, at the core, people's needs are the same. And so, whenever an individual is grieving, we all, doesn't matter what culture you live in, grief is grief. And being able to walk along the side of people and help them through that time of grief is, pretty much the same. So the challenges is just for me personally learning how to live in that culture, and making sure I don't do some cultural faux pas.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, how do you tailor your spiritual guidance to cater to non-denominational beliefs?
Well, it's one of the part for me. It's first and foremost. I've tried to study other religions to make sure I understand what those beliefs are, and from understanding the different cultural aspects of the person's religion, then making sure that I'm not coming along beside of them trying to impose on them what I believe, but simply coming along beside of them and saying, okay, I understand that you like these type of spiritual occasions to happen as you move toward the end of life, and so therefore I want to make sure that as best I can to help you make to get that take place. You know, doesn't matter what their religion is. I'm not there to impose my belief on them, but to come along the side and to make sure that it doesn't matter if they're Christian or Muslim or Hindu or whatever it might be, that I make sure that according to their beliefs, their end of life rituals are honored.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, my next question is, can you discuss key takeaways from your book, Think Big?
Well, I wrote one of the articles as a co-author in Think Big, and my portion that I wrote about was my mother and her influence on my life as I grew up from an early age, and then all the way through to her death a few years ago, in which I actually did her funeral for her, and sought to honor her from just the impact that she had on my life. And so my story in the book is about that journey from a little boy growing up in the home with my mom and the influence she had there. And then later on, she had cancer. She had breast cancer, and the impact that that had. And then coming to the end of her life and being with her as she took her last breath, and just the impact that she still has on me today. She always wanted me to think big. She did so many things in my life to try to help me be the best that I could be, and never think there was a limit to what you can do.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, what advice would you give to someone starting their career grief ministry?
Well, as far as in grief ministry, so often whenever we come along the side of someone who has just lost a loved one or a pet or something, we always have some little short, sweet little answer for them, or they're in a better place, or it's going to get better, or this, or, maybe depending on what your religious belief may be, you may start quoting some of those sacred texts to them. And more than likely, the individual already knows those sacred texts that you might be quoting to them. And it's not that they need someone to come along and quote something to them. They need somebody to come along and be present with them, just to sit and listen with them, or just to sit and cry with them, or just to sit and listen and say nothing. I've found over the course of my years of doing that, early on, I would start trying to say something. And so, my first and foremost would be to the individual who's trying to learn how to minister to someone else in grief, is just to show up. As I say in English, show up and shut up. Just show up and be quiet and listen, and let the person know that you care for them, that you love them, and if they need anything, you're there for them.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful answer. So, my next question is, how has the field of grief ministry evolved over the last 30 years?
Oh, as far as how it's evolved, I think we've learned a lot. There were some books written a number of years ago that said that you went through, or seemingly said that you went through grief in stages. You went from a denial stage and all the way up to anger, and and acceptance was the final stage. That, okay, I'm okay with this grief now. But grief doesn't necessarily go in a linear type of method, as early on was thought. But today, most individuals understand, or the researchers have come to understand, that grief is all over the place. It's not nice and neat and able to be put in a box. It's just a bunch of, as some have diagrammed it today, instead of just a straight line, it's just a bunch of squiggly lines all over the place, and you can't ever, because there are times you may, 10 years from now, um, something comes up, and you all of a sudden are shedding tears over somebody you lost 10 years ago, you know, um, because we never know what sight, what sound, what smell. In my case, I had my grandmother used to fix me soup often, and to this day and time, and she's been gone about 15 to 20 years, and every time I smell the type of soup she made, it causes me to remember her and grief, in the sense of missing her. I'm not saying you start crying and all that, but that memory of her comes up. And so it's the same thing in our lives. Say if you lost your pet, a dog, or an animal that you've had, and you really, some special place that you and that pet went to quite often. You went there, just you, a year or whatever later, and then you remember that pet going with you, and it brings up some memories, at times it can bring up tears. It's not tears of, it's just tears of missing them, um, and that's what we've come to understand, that grief ministry is not step one, step two, step three. Now I'm over it. Grief is the rest of your life, and it can be messy.
All right, sir. Wonderful answer, and thank you so much for sharing a very interesting memory for your grandmother. So now let's move on to next question. My next question is, how do you balance providing support to patient family members and caregivers?
Well, the balance is more of being out and helping take care of the patient, their families, and the caregivers. The balance is more of of doing that and still having a family at home as well, and making sure that I have a family life as well. And that's more the balance. But my family very well understands that, somebody may call me at 2 o'clock in the morning and I get up and go because they need me. And so that's probably more of the balance than anything. The people I work for are very good in understanding that I need time away to rejuvenate myself, to refresh myself, and just to spend time with my family. So that's probably the bigger balance. Being able to go and help the families and the patients. That's not much of a balance for me. That's who I am. I thoroughly enjoy. I tell people all the time, I would do what I do for free if I didn't need to take care of my family as well. And so, I have a home and children and all. But I thoroughly enjoy going out and just sitting with people and spending time with them and listen to their stories. I'm going and visiting a lady right now who is 101 years old, and it's fun just to go and sit and listen to her stories.
All right, sir. Great. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, my next question is, what is your philosophy on dealing with uh, life challenges?
My philosophy on dealing with life challenges, I want to control the things that I can control and leave the rest in God's hands. And the only thing that I can truly control is my attitude and how I respond.
All right, sir. Wonderful strategy. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, in your opinion, what is the key of effective communication?
Being able to listen, because it doesn't matter how much you say until the individual feels like you're listening to them, they're not going to care what you have to say.
All right, its mean listening is very important. Okay, all right. So, what book or author has significantly influenced your thinking?
Oh, there's a guy by the name of Alistair Begg that has influenced me. Um, Another individual, as far as how to minister to people, um, that influenced me tremendously, has done some things that disgraced his reputation. And so I'd rather not say his name because people would know it. And so, but his method was very good, and how he very much listened to people. And I modeled that myself, tried to model myself a lot after how he listened to people, and he really tried to think through what he was saying before he said it, to minister to them in an appropriate manner according to their culture. He was not a United States native, and so he was not American native. He was from a foreign country. But like I said, he's done some things that has kind of tarnished his character or reputation. So he's not alive anymore. I'd rather not say his name.
Okay, all right, sir. Thank you so much for your answer. So, can you share a habit or practice that has been crucial for your personal growth?
Oh, I read daily, and I've read through a number of times the sacred text that we use for my spiritual belief. That, and then just spending that time reading. I read probably 2 or 3 books a week, and just trying to learn the over and over what are the principles I need to live by and to go by. Just that daily practice of reading the sacred text, reading for reading to learn, and then journaling. Trying to journal and not only put stuff in, but how does it apply? One, how does it apply to my life to make me a better person? But then, of course, coming from that education background that I have, how can I teach it to others so that they can understand how it applies to their life.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answers. So, how do you stay motivated and inspired in your work?
And I love what I do. You've heard it said, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And uh, I love what I do. It's not hard for me to get up in the morning and leave out the door, because I know I'm going to be able to spend some time with an individual or individuals and learning their story. But knowing that I pray that every day the Lord uses me to show up and to make a difference in that person's life that day, that moment, because so many of them only have a short period of time left on this earth. And so I want to do whatever I can to make sure that their last days are filled with joy and helping them to reach what goals they may have set for the end of the day. So I love what I do, and it's not hard to get up and get motivated.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, my next question is what do you believe is the most important attribute for success in any field?
Hmm, it's a good question. I think it goes back, it doesn't matter what level of leadership you are into success. If you aren't willing to be a listener and a learner, it's going to be hard to move up in whatever it is you're trying to move up in. You first have to be that learner, and in order to be a learner, you have to be a listener. Being listening may be reading, but whenever someone above you is trying to give you some instructions of whatever it might be on how to do a job, or what it may take to move up, you have to be willing to know that I don't know everything. There's still a lot that I need to learn. Even at my age, I want to every day learn something new, or learn something that maybe I can do it differently or better. I want to be the most efficient that I can be with my time, and there's little tricks and things here and there that maybe helps me a little better with my time, and not waste it. When it comes to using software, I'm not the smartest person on using software, so I want to learn how to use it more effectively. But being a listener and being a learner will help you go a long ways.
All right, sir. Wonderful answer. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. So, what advice would you give to someone facing a major life decision?
Oh, someone facing a major life decision. Don't make a rash decision. Don't make a quick decision. Sit down, look at the pros and the cons. What's good, what may be bad about if I make this decision, what are the consequences going to be? If I don't make this decision, if I don't do it, what are the consequences going to be? Because every decision we make has consequences, whether they're positive or whether they're negative. And so before I make that decision, I need to think through what's going to be good, what's going to be bad, and how it's going to affect my family, because any decision I make is going to affect more than just myself. How's it going to affect my family? If you're looking at making a job change, and that job change requires you moving to a different city, but at the same time, it may take you to a place where, one, you don't have a place to worship if you're someone who worships, or two, it may be a place that doesn't have good schools for your children. How's that going to impact them as well? And so, just thinking through the good and the bad of each decision you make, how it's going to affect you personally, how it's going to affect your family as well.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your answer and for sharing your invaluable insights and heartfelt experiences with us today. Your dedication to grief ministry and compassion you bring to your work is truly inspiring. It's been an honor to have you here, and your journey is a testament to the profound impact one can have through empathy and guidance. So, to our audience, thank you for joining us for this enlightening conversation. We hope it has offered you new perspectives and inspiration. So, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having me. It's my privilege, and you have a good evening. And just thank you for what you do in your interviews, and pray that it does help other people.
Uh, Thank you so much, sir. Have a wonderful day ahead. We will talk about after our interview.
Okay.
Okay, bye.